You know that feeling when you realize that um, literally everything society tells you to do, like earning a living, begging for help to get ahead, getting married, starting a family, it all just feels less like a joy and more like this immense heavy struggle.
Oh, yeah. Like you're just carrying around a ton of bricks all the time.
Exactly. Well, welcome to your custom-tailored deep dive, because today we are exploring a blueprint that it pretty much turns that entire societal script upside down.
It really does. It's a complete 180.
Right, because when you stack all those expectations on top of the inevitable stress of, you know, birth, aging, sickness, and death,
Hmm.
the human experience starts to look incredibly exhausting.
It's the ultimate predicament we all face. We spend our entire lives racking our brains trying to solve this puzzle of a happy existence.
Hmm.
But the puzzle itself is constructed out of these incredibly heavy, sharp pieces that just weigh us down. And the more we try to build, the heavier the load becomes.
Which brings us to the most provocative, brilliantly shocking premise I've come across in a really long time.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah, the author of our source material today flat out argues that being a human being, or even being a ghost for that matter, is actually far more challenging than being a pig or a dog.
Which is just, I mean, putting it that bluntly, instantly strips away all our human arrogance.
It totally does.
Because the author is making this profound observation about our nature. We like to think our complex intellect and our intricate desires elevate us above the rest of the animal kingdom.
Right, we're at the top of the food chain. We have civilization.
Exactly. But the argument here is that those exact things are what trap us.
And the solution they offer is what we're diving into today. So we have this translated text from May 2023 by an author named Shuafeng, and it was edited by Kinyu.
And the title alone tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the tone.
It's called How Easy It Is to Cultivate into a Celestial Being.
Right. But before we go further, we should probably clarify what they mean by celestial being in this context.
Yeah, because I'm just picturing like glowing immortals floating around on clouds.
Which is what a lot of people picture. But within the philosophical framework of this text, cultivating into a celestial being is really about reaching this ultimate state of psychological liberation.
Okay, so it's a mental state.
Yeah, it's achieving absolute unshakable peace, where the friction of the human world simply cannot touch you anymore.
And the author claims that this profound ascension is, well, they say it's actually incredibly easy.
Surprisingly easy, in their words.
Right. They argue that instead of grinding away in the human rat race, you can just turn around, step off the track entirely, and follow 8 specific rules.
8 rules. That's it.
We are going to guide you through this 8-step framework today to see what it actually demands of us. And it begins with a massive physical severing of ties. The author insists we have to completely abandon the physical anchors that society demands we chase.
And I think the word abandon almost feels too mild for what's being prescribed here.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Rule 1 states very clearly, do not get married, do not start a family, do not buy a house or acquire possessions.
Just giving up the entire American dream, basically.
The human dream, really. You are instructed to nourish your body with simple meals and just sleep under a thatched hut until dawn.
And then Rule 4 just ramps it right up. It says, do not wear gold or silver, do not crave vanity, and do not pursue fame.
So you trade the modern dream for a bamboo fence and that thatched cottage.
Yeah. And just in case you thought you could still, quietly play the stock market from your hut, Rule 7 brings it to the financial level. Do not borrow money, do not owe debts, do not desire extravagance, and do not hoard wealth.
Think about the imagery being used here to replace our modern obsessions with status and wealth.
It's very vivid.
Instead of aiming for a luxury car or a massive portfolio, your goal is literally just to enjoy the delightful scenery of a bamboo fence. You're aiming for this leisurely mind with nothing to worry about.
And Rule 7 offers this incredibly poetic directive that says to emulate the carefree nature of grass.
Emulate the carefree nature of grass. It's brilliant.
I love that specific phrase so much.
Well, consider how grass actually exists in the world. It accepts the wind, the frost, the rain, and the snow entirely regardless of what comes.
It doesn't fight back.
No, it doesn't brace for impact. It doesn't try to build a shelter. It just bends.
So let's play this out and imagine the reality of this. Because I look at these 3 rules and I immediately think of, like, the modern extreme minimalism movement.
Oh, sure. The tiny house craze.
Exactly. People selling their 4-bedroom suburban homes to live in a tiny 200-square-foot box on wheels just to escape their mortgage. But Su Feng is talking about minimalism on a cosmic scale.
It's not just decluttering your closet.
Right, it's a total rejection of the human narrative of progress. But wait, let me see if I'm grasping the core philosophy here. Are they saying that by living in a thatched hut with zero possessions, there's literally nothing left for the world to take from you?
You've hit on the exact mechanism at work there. Because in our modern mindset, we are just obsessed with building fortresses.
Oh, absolutely.
We buy houses and immediately install security systems. We build bank accounts, we hoard resources, we buy insurance for our insurance.
Because we think it keeps us safe.
Right. We do all of this because we genuinely believe that insulation from the elements, both physical and financial, is what creates peace. But the author is arguing the exact opposite.
Because those fortresses require just constant, exhausting maintenance.
Mortgages require jobs. Jobs require enduring massive amounts of stress and compromising your time. Amassing wealth inherently makes you a target, which generates paranoia.
Because it's a trap.
Exactly. But choosing to have absolutely nothing, by literally emulating that blade of grass, you achieve true invulnerability.
The grass doesn't stress about the incoming snowstorm because it has nothing to lose to the snowstorm.
It just gets buried, rests, and waits for the melt. It's a radical acceptance of vulnerability, prioritizing an unburdened mind over any form of physical luxury.
Okay, so you've emptied your bank account. You've walked away from the concept of property. You're physically detached and sitting by your bamboo fence. But the author knows that's only half the battle.
Because your mind is still buzzing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your brain is still full of all the noise society put in there. So we move from the physical fast to a rigorous social and intellectual detox.
And honestly, physical isolation is easy compared to quieting the internal dialogue. The rules targeting our mental burdens are arguably much, much harder for a modern person to swallow.
Yeah, so let's look at Rule 2. It dictates, do not talk about family or country. And then Rule 6 follows that up with this massive restriction. Do not talk about oneself or others, do not discuss right or wrong, and do not distinguish between good and evil.
Let's really pause on that specific command for a second. No distinguishing between good and evil.
Which sounds crazy in today's world.
We live in an era where every single day we're pressured to take a moral stance.
Right, on social media, in the news.
You're expected to debate right and wrong online, to care deeply about the geopolitical direction of the country, to be outraged by injustice. And the author's telling us to drop all of it. Completely.
Rule 8 really reinforces this exact point. It says, do not follow trends or conform to the masses. The author explicitly reminds the reader that life on Earth is just a fleeting moment.
The fleeting moment.
And their advice for dealing with that fleeting moment is to laugh heartily and forget everything. Like, instead of debating morality, you should just discuss mulberry and hemp over tea. You should just work diligently and be happy if you have enough bread.
That phrase, mulberry and hemp over tea, that's a classic cultural metaphor for simple, everyday agrarian life.
Like talking about the weather.
Yeah, you talk about the crops, you talk about the rain, you discuss the immediate, tangible reality in front of you. You do not talk about abstract, distant crises that you literally cannot control.
It is the ultimate intellectual detox. I mean, imagine never reading an opinion piece again, deleting every news app off your phone, and just refusing to engage with the outrage cycle.
It sounds kind of peaceful, honestly.
It does. But here is where it gets really fascinating and, frankly, completely ironic to me. Tucked inside Rule 2 is this very specific command. It says, do not talk about awakening or being a Buddha.
Ah, yes. The text anticipates our tendency to turn literally anything into a competition.
But wait, how does that even work? Because we are reading a literal, step-by-step guide on how to cultivate into a celestial being, and we're explicitly told not to talk about enlightenment.
Right.
How are you supposed to climb toward this ultimate celestial state if you aren't even allowed to acknowledge the goal?
Because spiritual ambition is still ambition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you're constantly talking about awakening, you're measuring yourself. You're comparing your spiritual progress to the progress of the people around you.
Like it's a leaderboard.
Exactly. You're trying to achieve a metric of success, which just drags you right back into the human rat race. You just happen to be wearing robes instead of a business suit.
That is so true.
But the ego is functioning exactly the same way. The ego loves to debate right and wrong. The ego loves to police good and evil because it makes us feel powerful and righteous.
So how do we deal with actual injustice in the world if we aren't allowed to call it out or fight it? Because that feels wrong.
Well, the author introduces the concept of the divine net. The text suggests that justice is handled by this all-encompassing divine net, meaning the universe or the natural order will sort out right and wrong on its own timeline.
So it's not my job.
Exactly. By leaving justice to the universe, you remove the heavy, crushing psychological burden of trying to personally fix a broken world.
So you're saying I don't have to have a well-researched, passionate opinion on every single global crisis.
Nope.
I can just bake my bread, watch the grass grow, and trust the divine net to catch the bad guys.
Considering the author views life on Earth as a fleeting moment, spending your brief flash of existence agonizing over unfixable global problems means you completely miss the peace of the present.
You're sacrificing your present for something you can't fix.
You sacrifice your leisurely mind for an illusion of control.
Okay, I am really starting to see the appeal here. I've given up my house. I've stopped reading the news. I'm no longer debating morality, and I'm not even trying to prove how enlightened I am. I'm just drinking tea.
Just you and your tea.
But I am still a human being occupying space in a world with other people. If we aren't saving the world and we aren't building traditional families, how are we supposed to interact with the people who are physically standing right in front of us?
Well, the blueprint demands a complete dismantling of how society teaches us to socialize, which brings us to rules 3 and 5.
Rule 3 strips away the entire concept of networking. It says, do not flatter or curry favor, do not seek connections or pursue relations. You're only supposed to form bonds with like-minded people you happen to encounter on this celestial path, and you treat them like family.
So transactional relationships are entirely eliminated.
It's gone.
There is no more making small talk with a neighbor or a colleague just because they might be able to get you a job or secure an advantage later or boost your social standing.
But then we hit Rule 5. And I'll be honest, when I read this one, it stopped me in my tracks. I really think it's the absolute most challenging, counterintuitive demand in the entire 8-step framework.
I would agree. Rule 5 acts as the ultimate crucible for the ego.
Yeah, it starts out predictably enough. Do not scheme for personal gain or public welfare. Do not discuss ideals or seek recognition. But then comes the final test. The rule explicitly states, even if you possess profound knowledge of the world, do not offer help unless it is asked.
Withholding help, even when you possess profound knowledge.
Like imagine you're watching your best friend or a family member about to make a terrible mistake in their life or their career. You see them drifting into the wrong lane, so to speak, and you know exactly how to fix it because you have that profound knowledge.
Right.
The instinct, the seemingly good, decent human instinct, is to grab the steering wheel and say, hey, let me show you a better way. Let me save you from this crash.
Yes, that's what we're taught to do.
Yeah. But this rule demands an almost painful, agonizing level of restraint. Why are we intentionally withholding help from people we care about?
Because we have to ruthlessly examine where the urge to give unsolicited help actually comes from.
Okay.
We tell ourselves it's kindness. We package it as altruism. But if we dig down into the psychology of it, offering unsolicited help very often stems from a desire for recognition. It is a subtle violation of the rule against vanity.
Because giving advice makes us feel important.
Exactly. It's a way of broadcasting, I know better than you, I am smarter than you. Look at the immense value I bring to your life.
That's tough to admit.
It centers the helper rather than the person struggling. Alternatively, it's an urge to impose our own ideals and our own way of doing things onto someone else's journey. By withholding that help until it is explicitly verbally asked for, the practitioner does something incredibly difficult. They starve their own ego.
You literally have to sit on your hands and watch them struggle. Because intervening is actually about satisfying your own need for control, not their need for assistance.
And if they do not ask for help, they aren't ready for the answer. Intervening prematurely disrupts their natural path.
That makes sense.
And worse, from the perspective of cultivating into a celestial being, intervening entangles you in their drama. Trying to grab their steering wheel just creates a struggle over control of the car, which instantly destroys your leisurely mind with nothing to worry about.
You become part of the crash.
Right. By stepping back, you maintain your emotional boundaries, you eliminate the friction of unwanted advice, and you deeply respect the agency and the timing of the other person.
It is the ultimate test of detachment. So let's zoom out and look at the entire architecture of what Suifeng has built here. Becoming a celestial being isn't about acquiring magical powers or ascending on a beam of light.
Not at all.
It requires systematically and ruthlessly detaching from property, from debt, from moral grandstanding, from societal trends, from spiritual ambition, and even from the instinct to give a friend some good advice.
You strip away the baggage of the past, the anxiety of the future, the weight of societal expectations, and the constant demanding hunger of the ego.
And the author's promise is that doing all of this is surprisingly easy. They literally write, try it out. Achieving the above 8 points is surprisingly easy. Even as mere mortals, as long as you accomplish these 8 points, you will experience the taste of a celestial being.
Using the word easy is just a fascinating rhetorical choice.
Right.
Logistically speaking, yes, it is incredibly simple. Nothing in the world requires less physical effort than sitting in a hut, doing your daily chores, and drinking tea while ignoring the news.
Zero effort.
But psychologically, for a modern human brain that is entirely wired for connection, for achievement, and for a sense of justice, it requires a monumental, almost terrifying paradigm shift.
Which brings me circling right back to where we started our conversation today.
Yeah.
Given everything we have unpacked about the sheer psychological friction of these rules, is it actually easier to abandon all human attachments than it is to just pay a mortgage and deal with Thanksgiving family drama?
Well, think of the human experience as hiking up a mountain while wearing a backpack filled with rocks.
Okay.
The rocks are our debts, our opinions, our desires, and our relationships. The author is telling us to simply unbuckle the backpack and let it drop.
Which sounds great.
Physically, dropping the backpack is the easiest thing in the world. But letting go of all your supplies, your tools, and your identity, that requires a terrifying leap of faith that most people just cannot stomach. They would rather carry the crushing weight because it feels familiar.
They prefer the struggle they know over the emptiness they don't. So here's a thought for you to take with you today. The author insists that life on Earth is just a fleeting moment, and we should laugh heartily and forget everything.
A fleeting moment.
But let's say you actually manage to do it. Let's say you successfully follow all 8 rules to the letter. You completely detach from every human struggle. You opt out of every passionate moral debate. You suppress every desire to help, and you walk away from every messy, complicated relationship.
Okay, assuming you pull it off.
If you do all of that, do you transcend to a higher state of perfect peace, or do you accidentally erase the very friction that gives our temporary human lives their meaning in the first place?
Wow. It forces us to confront the ultimate trade-off, really.
Yeah.
The pristine, untouched peace of the celestial being versus the heavy, messy, heartbreaking beauty of remaining human.
That is definitely something to mull over the next time you find yourself tempted to give unsolicited advice or, the next time you're about to argue with a stranger on the internet. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.